My name is Brooks. I'm 42 years old now, and I work as an account management specialist for a home appliance manufacturer just outside Columbus, Ohio. If you asked my coworkers today what kind of employee I am, they'd probably tell you I'm the quiet guy who keeps his head down, finishes his work on time, and never gets involved in office gossip. They'd be right. What they don't know is why. 7 years ago, I almost lost everything because of two jokes. Not two lies that stole money, not two lies that hurt anyone on purpose, just two stupid jokes that I thought everyone understood were jokes. For 6 months, I couldn't find a job. I nearly lost my house. I watched my savings disappear one mortgage payment at a time. And the person I blamed the entire time was HR. Looking back now, I realize the story wasn't as simple as I wanted it to be, but we'll get to that. First, let me tell you about the night everything started. When I was 35, I had already been with the company for almost 8 years. It wasn't a glamorous job. We manufactured refrigerators, ovens, microwaves, and washing machines for several major retail chains across the country. My department handled large commercial accounts. No sales, no cold calls, just making sure our biggest customers stayed happy. I liked that. The paycheck was steady, the people were good. I honestly thought I'd retire there one day. Every few months, a group of us would meet after work at the same sports bar 5 minutes from the office. Nothing fancy. Cheap wings, cold beer, basketball on every television. The kind of place where everybody knew half the customers worked in manufacturing. That Friday, there were about 10 of us. Warehouse supervisors, production planners, one accountant, 2 engineers. My manager, and Kevin. Kevin worked in human resources. If you met him, you'd probably like him immediately. He always smiled first. He remembered birthdays. He'd ask about your kids by name. Whenever someone had a family emergency, Kevin was usually the first person to organize a card for everyone to sign. Nobody had anything bad to say about him, including me. That night started like every other company happy hour. Someone complained about gas prices. Someone else complained about fantasy football. Our accounting manager joked that payroll had nearly given him a heart attack because someone entered an extra zero into a reimbursement request. That led to one of the engineers laughing. What if payroll accidentally wired you $100,000? The whole table laughed. Mike said he'd disappear to Mexico. Another guy said he'd retire immediately. Someone else claimed he'd buy a fishing boat. Then everybody looked at me. Ethan, what would you do? I'd already had 3 beers. Not drunk, but relaxed enough that I wasn't filtering every word. I grinned. I'd keep it. The table laughed. I raised my glass. Come on, I'd split some with you guys first. More laughter. I mean, if payroll's dumb enough to send me $100,000, that's between them and God. People nearly spilled their drinks laughing. Everyone. Except Kevin. He smiled, but it wasn't the same kind of laugh everyone else had. He simply took another sip of his beer. Then asked calmly, "So you'd actually keep money that wasn't yours?" I shrugged. "Nah," I laughed again. "I'm kidding. You guys take everything too seriously." Kevin nodded. "Fair enough." Then he changed the subject. That should have been the end of it. And honestly, I forgot the conversation even happened. About 3 weeks later, our HR department announced they were hiring several production employees. Nothing unusual. Our factory was growing. Hiring happened all the time. That morning, I walked into the break room and saw one of the warehouse guys looking at the job posting. "You know," I said casually, "I heard HR is giving employees a $1,000 referral bonus now." His eyes got wide. "Seriously?" I shrugged. "So I heard." He smiled. "I've got a cousin looking for work." I laughed. "Then you'd better call him." That was it. Or so I thought. I didn't send an email. I didn't make a company announcement. I didn't print flyers. It was one sentence, one stupid sentence. By lunch, 3 people had asked Kevin where they could claim the $1,000 referral bonus. By the next morning, it was nearly 20. By Friday, HR's inbox was flooded. Applicants were showing up asking about bonus paperwork. Current employees were demanding to know why nobody had announced the program. Some had already promised family members the money. Kevin spent almost the entire day explaining, "There is no referral bonus. There has never been a referral bonus. I don't know who started that rumor." Except by then, everyone knew exactly who had started it. One of the warehouse guys laughed while pointing at me across the cafeteria. Ethan told us. Another added, he said, HR approved it. I never said that. But once a rumor starts moving, people don't repeat exactly what you said. They repeat what they think they heard. By Monday morning, our department manager called me into his office. He closed the door, folded his hands, and sighed. Ethan, did you tell people HR was paying a $1,000 hiring bonus? I smiled awkwardly. I was joking. He didn't smile back. I know. Then he slid a printed email across the desk. It was from Kevin. HR had already received over 30 questions about the fake bonus. Several applicants had mentioned it during interviews. One candidate actually turned down another offer because he expected the extra $1,000. The company had already sent out an official correction. I stared at the paper. For the first time, I realized this wasn't funny anymore. I'll apologize, I said quickly. I'll tell everyone I made it up. My manager rubbed his forehead. I wish it were that simple. The apology didn't fix anything. Rumors spread faster than corrections. People remembered the exciting part, not the truth afterward. For the next week, every time someone walked past my desk, they'd make another joke. Hey, Ethan, where's my $1,000? Can HR pay me in cash? You owe me $1,000. I laughed along, like everything was normal. Inside, I was starting to feel uneasy. Kevin stopped by my desk one afternoon. He wasn't angry. He wasn't rude. He simply said, "Can we talk for a minute?" We walked into an empty conference room. He closed the door gently. Ethan, I know you didn't mean for this to happen. I nodded immediately. I swear I didn't. I know. He looked tired, but intentions don't erase consequences. I looked down at the table. I'm sorry. He nodded. I believe you. There was a long silence. Then he added something I didn't fully understand at the time. Sometimes people trust your words more than you realize. He stood up. Take care. Then he walked out. I remember thinking, that's it? No warning, no write-up, no disciplinary action. Maybe this whole thing really was over. I couldn't have been more wrong. 3 days later, at exactly 9:17 on a Thursday morning, my Outlook calendar flashed a meeting invitation. Meeting with Director of Operations, HR, and Department Manager. No subject line, no explanation, just a conference room number. The meeting was scheduled for 1 o'clock. I stared at the screen for nearly a minute. Then I looked across the office. Kevin was already looking back at me. He didn't smile this time. He simply lowered his eyes and returned to his computer. That's when I felt it, that cold feeling in the pit of my stomach. For the first time in 8 years, I wasn't worried about making a mistake. I was worried that I'd already made one I couldn't take back. No explanation, just a conference room number. The meeting was scheduled for 1 o'clock. I stared at the screen for nearly a minute. Then I looked across the office. Kevin was already looking back at me. He didn't smile this time. He simply lowered his eyes and returned to his computer. That's when I felt it, that cold feeling in the pit of my stomach. For the first time in 8 years, I wasn't worried about making a mistake. I was worried that I'd already made one I couldn't take back. I don't remember work that Thursday morning. I answered emails, I updated a few customer accounts, I even sat through part of a conference call. But if you asked me today what anyone said during those 4 hours, I couldn't tell you. All I could think about was the meeting. 1 o'clock. Conference room B. My manager. HR. The Director of Operations. At 12:58, I walked down the hallway. Every step felt heavier than the last. When I opened the conference room door, everyone was already there. My manager, Lisa, Kevin from HR, and our Director of Operations, Mark Reynolds. Nobody smiled. Mark motioned toward the empty chair. Please have a seat, Ethan. The moment I sat down, Kevin slid a folder across the table. Inside were printed emails, screenshots, statements from employees, questions from job applicants. Even a copy of the correction HR had been forced to send to everyone. Mark folded his hands. Ethan, do you understand why we're here today? I swallowed. I think so. You started a false rumor that affected our hiring process. Yes. You understand people believed it? Yes. It wasn't true? No. He nodded. I've also been informed this isn't the first time you've joked about situations involving company policies. My heart sank. Kevin quietly opened another page. I don't know if you remember this, he said. The happy hour 3 weeks ago. Immediately, I remembered the conversation about the $100,000. Kevin continued. When someone asked what you'd do if payroll accidentally transferred $100,000 into your account, you said you'd keep it. I let out a nervous laugh. Come on. Everybody knew I was kidding. Kevin looked at me calmly. I believe you were. That surprised me. He wasn't accusing me. He wasn't trying to prove I was dishonest. He was simply stating a fact. But the referral bonus wasn't understood as a joke. The room fell silent. Mark leaned forward. Intent matters. So does impact. And in this case, the impact was significant. I felt my face getting hot. I'm sorry. I really am. I never wanted any of this. Mark nodded. I believe you. For a second, I thought maybe I was getting a written warning, maybe probation, maybe suspension. Instead, he picked up another piece of paper. Ethan Brooks. Effective today. Your employment with this company is terminated. I stared at him. I honestly thought I had misheard. What? I'm fired? Nobody answered immediately. I looked at Lisa. She couldn't even look me in the eyes. Kevin slowly pushed a box of tissues toward me. That somehow made everything feel even more real. I know this is difficult, he said softly. I shook my head. This is over a joke. Ethan Brooks. Effective today. Your employment with this company is terminated. I stared at him. I honestly thought I had misheard. What? I'm fired? Nobody answered immediately. I looked at Lisa. She couldn't even look me in the eyes. Kevin slowly pushed a box of tissues toward me. That somehow made everything feel even more real. I know this is difficult, he said softly. I shook my head. This is over a joke. Mark corrected me. No, it's over trust. When employees hear information from someone they've worked beside for 8 years, they assume it's true. I wanted to argue. I wanted to tell them everyone joked, everyone exaggerated, everyone messed around after work, but nothing came out. Because deep down, I knew they were right. 20 minutes later, I walked out carrying a cardboard box. 8 years of my career fit inside it. A framed family photo, a coffee mug, 2 notebooks, a company jacket. I avoided looking at anyone. I just wanted to leave. As I reached the parking lot, I heard someone behind me. Ethan. It was Kevin. For a moment, I honestly believed he was coming to lecture me again. Instead, he held out my security badge. You forgot this. I handed it back. Neither of us spoke for several seconds. Finally, I said, I guess you got what you wanted. Kevin looked genuinely confused. What do you mean? You reported me. He sighed. I reported what happened. Those aren't the same thing. I laughed bitterly. Sure. He shook his head. Ethan, I don't decide who gets fired. I document facts. The decision belongs to leadership. I didn't believe him. Not then. I got into my truck, closed the door, and drove away. The next 6 months were the hardest of my life. I applied everywhere. Manufacturing companies, distribution centers, customer service offices, logistics firms. Some never replied. Some interviewed me once. Others chose candidates with more recent experience. Every rejection chipped away at my confidence. My savings account slowly disappeared. I canceled vacations, stopped eating out, sold a motorcycle I loved. There were nights I couldn't sleep because I kept replaying that meeting in my head. If only I had kept my mouth shut. If only I hadn't tried to be funny. If only. But if only doesn't pay the mortgage. One evening, my wife sat beside me on the couch. She squeezed my hand. You've punished yourself long enough? What are you saying? Call Mark. The worst thing he can do is say no. I laughed. He already fired me. What makes you think he'll even answer? He might not, but at least you'll know you tried. She was right. The next morning, I called, straight to voicemail. I called again the next day, same result. Then again, nothing. Finally, I sent one text, not asking for my job back, not making excuses, just telling the truth. Mark, I owe you an apology. I wasn't fired because I was unlucky. I was fired because I failed to think before I spoke. My actions created problems for people who were simply doing their jobs. If you never hire me again, I'll understand. But if there's even the smallest chance to earn back your trust, I'll spend the rest of my career proving you didn't make a mistake. Ethan days passed. Nothing. Then, my phone buzzed. It was Mark. One sentence. Be in my office tomorrow morning at 9. Kevin will be there too. I read the message 5 times. Kevin? Why Kevin? The same HR manager I blamed for everything. I barely slept that night. The next morning, I parked in the same employee lot I'd used for 8 years. Only this time, I wasn't an employee anymore. Walking through those front doors felt strangely familiar and completely foreign at the same time. When I reached the lobby, Mark wasn't there, only Kevin. He was sitting alone with a cup of coffee. When he saw me, he stood up. I walked over slowly. I've wanted to say something for a long time. He waited quietly. I'm sorry. I blamed you. I was angry. I thought you ruined my career. Kevin gave a small smile. I know. I'm sorry. He nodded once. I accepted your apology 6 months ago. I looked at him, surprised. What? He chuckled softly. You just didn't know it yet. Then he pointed toward the hallway leading to Mark's office. Go see him. He's been waiting for you. I took a deep breath, walked to the office door, and knocked. Come in. Mark was sitting behind his desk holding a single sheet of paper. He slid it toward me. If you're willing to sign this, I'm willing to give you one last chance. I picked it up. At the top, it read, Last Chance Agreement. My hands trembled as I began reading. Every sentence carried the same message. Communicate professionally. Never spread unverified information. Never represent company policies unless officially authorized. One more violation, and my employment would end immediately. No appeals, no second meeting, no second chance. When I finished reading, I looked up. I deserve this. Mark nodded. I believe you do. I signed my name without hesitation. As I handed the paper back, I realized something. The company hadn't forgotten what I did. They simply believed people could learn from their mistakes. I had spent 6 months blaming HR, blaming management, blaming company politics. In reality, the hardest conversation I ever had was finally admitting the truth to myself. The joke didn't end my career. My own choices almost did. And from that day forward, I made myself one promise. If my words weren't helping, I simply wouldn't say them. 7 years have passed since then. I'm still with the same company. Kevin and I still grab coffee every now and then. We laugh about plenty of things, just not rumors, because I've learned something that took losing my job to understand. People often say, watch what you do at work. I think the better advice is this: watch what you say. Sometimes, one sentence can take years to earn back. I signed my name without hesitation. As I handed the paper back, I realized something. The company hadn't forgotten what I did. They simply believed people could learn from their mistakes. I had spent 6 months blaming HR, blaming management, blaming company politics. In reality, the hardest conversation I ever had was finally admitting the truth to myself. The joke didn't end my career. My own choices almost did. And from that day forward, I made myself one promise. If my words weren't helping, I simply wouldn't say them. 7 years have passed since then. I'm still with the same company. Kevin and I still grab coffee every now and then. We laugh about plenty of things, just not rumors, because I've learned something that took losing my job to understand. People often say, watch what you do at work. I think the better advice is this: watch what you say. Sometimes, one sentence can take years to earn back. I think the better advice is this: watch what you say. Sometimes, one sentence can take years to earn back.